Craving the coffee flavor you love, but without the caffeine? Kachava's got you covered with their newest coffee flavor. This all-in-one nutrition shake delivers bold, authentic flavor crafted from premium decaffeinated Brazilian beans. Quality nutrition shouldn't be complicated. Just 2 scoops of Kachava's all-in-one nutrition shake, and you've got 25 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, greens, and so much more. Whether you're craving that coffee taste to kickstart your morning ritual, or as a nutrient-packed reward to round out your afternoon, Kachava keeps you fueled and satisfied wherever your day takes you. Plus, it actually tastes delicious. No fillers, no nonsense. Just the good stuff your body craves. And for the times you feel like switching it up, you've got 7 flavors to choose from, all with the highest quality ingredients. Treat yourself to the flavor and nutrition your body craves. Go to kachava.com and use code FITNESS. New customers get 15% off their first order. That's KACHAVA.com, code FITNESS.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word SHOW to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word SHOW, SHOW, to 33777. Text SHOW to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 3.
Hello there. It is Eric Erickson across the United States of America. I am delighted to have you with me. I am delighted to, bring you one of the greatest video clips I have ever witnessed in my life. You know, we killed Iran's spokesman. Iran had a propaganda minister for the military who would come out and speak regularly, and we killed that guy. In addition to killing the Ayatollah, we've killed the defense minister, the head of the Air Force, the Army. We've killed a lot of people. We've killed the head of the militia. Then we've killed all of their replacements. We've now killed Ali Larijani's replacement, and we keep having new spokesmen come out. And I just want to give you this as proof that Iran is losing. In all seriousness, there are a lot of Americans listening to American news services who make it sound like we are losing the war in Iran, that we have no end game, that we have no capability of not turning it into a forever war. They've learned, I would submit to you all, the wrong lessons from the war in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I want to play you this video, and most of you are not going to be able to understand it. I will translate it for you. Those of you who speak Arabic will know that I'm telling you the truth. And this is prima facie evidence that Iran is losing the war. This is the spokesman of the central headquarters of Qatam al-Anbiya for Iran. And I want you to listen to this, and then I will tell you what he's saying.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. با توجه به اینکه همه پایگاه‌های آمریکا در منطقه از بین رفته است، فرماندهان و سربازان آمریکا فرار و در مخفیگاه‌های خارج از پایگاه‌ها پناه گرفتند و ما به دنبال آنها می‌گردیم. از مردم کشورهای منطقه می‌خواهیم محل اختفای آنها را گزارش کنند و همزمان برای امنیت خود اخراج آمریکایی‌ها را از منطقه خواستار شوند. و من نصر الا من عند الله العزیز الحکیم.
In the name of God, the mighty and merciful, considering that all American bases in the region have been destroyed, American commanders and soldiers have fled and taken refuge in hideouts outside the bases, and we are searching for them. We ask the people of the regional countries to report their hiding places and simultaneously demand the expulsion of Americans from the region for their own security. To all Arabs in the affected countries who wanted to fight the Zionists, this is a great opportunity provided by Iran. Help Iran find these hidden Zionists and let them see their inevitable false fate before God. That is the spokesman of the central headquarters of Qatam al-Anbiya, saying that all American bases in the region have been destroyed. American commanders and soldiers have fled and taken refuge in hideouts outside the bases. We are searching for them. And it is time for the people who wish to fight the Zionists to rise up, search out the hidden Zionists, and let them see their fate before God. Ladies and gentlemen, none of what this man said is true. None of what it said is true. The difference between Iran and the United States of America is that we have reporters embedded with our soldiers abroad. We have people in Israel. According to the Iranians, Tel Aviv has now been leveled 5 or 6 times in the past 4 weeks. When you have the spokesman of the central headquarters of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps going on television and announcing that American bases in the region have been destroyed and American commanders and soldiers have fled, they're not winning the war. They would not be doing this. The fact that they are broadcasting lies, the lies are targeted at the Iranian people to cause them to lose hope, suggests it is the Iranian leadership itself that is losing hope. Just think about this for a moment. There are reporters, American reporters in the Middle East. We have bases in Iraq and Israel, in Saudi Arabia, in the United Arab Emirates. We have bases in Bahrain. We have bases in Qatar. American reporters are in the region. American reporters who hate Donald Trump, who could drive to those bases and see for themselves, and word would get out that our bases have been destroyed, that our commanders have fled, that our soldiers are dead, that they're hunting the Zionists and hunting the Americans and dragging the bodies into the street. It's not happening. So why would this man do this? What is the purpose of the spokesman of the central headquarters for the IRGC going on television and announcing that the Americans are destroyed? I would submit to you there's only one real purpose here, and that is to signal to the Iranian people to give up hope. Why would they want the Iranian people to give up hope? Because they are at this point desperately afraid of an internal rebellion. And they are trying at this moment to shut down a growing internal rebellion where the people have been slowly armed. Ladies and gentlemen, I would submit to you that this level of propaganda coming from the Iranian regime is a very good thing. It reminds me of the Iraqi war minister during the Iraq war telling everyone how there were no American military anywhere near Baghdad, that the situation was contained, everything was fine, and the Iraqis had the Americans on the run. That was about a day before the Americans took over Baghdad. The fact that this level of propaganda has to come out is a good sign for all of us. It's a good sign for the progress of the war. And I would submit to you, my fellow Americans, that one of the great signs of our progress is the disinformation campaign being run by the Iranians. If they were winning the war, they wouldn't have to tell us they're winning in this sort of way. They wouldn't have to do this sort of thing. They wouldn't have to lie so brazenly. But the fact is, they'll get American members of the media to echo their disinformation campaign. They will get American members of the press to cheer on the Iranian war effort. So I have a question, and a friend of mine was just texting me this as well. We've had John Brennan. We've had the person on CNN the other day. They were talking about how much more they trust the Iranian government than they trust the American government. This is John Brennan yesterday. John Brennan, who is on MSNBC, was talking about how much more trust he has for the Iranian leadership and the Iranian regime and what they tell us on television. This is John Brennan, the Barack Obama's director of the CIA. Listen to this from yesterday, where Simone Sanders, who worked for Joe Biden, was the voice of reason.
Iran, like, they are an authoritarian regime who's known to lie, but like, I'm confused. What is going on? Help me. Calm me down.
Well, I tend to believe Iran more than I do Donald Trump,
crazy.
because he could not acknowledge the truth, even when it is, he's slapped in the face with it repeatedly.
That's John Brennan, who says he tends to trust the Iranians more than Donald Trump, because Donald Trump wouldn't know the truth if it slapped him in the face. So is he willing to believe this Iranian regime minister of propaganda that the Americans are on the run? This is Ashley Allison, a commentator on CNN.
The leaders of the Iranian regime, they lie. I think the problem is we don't know if our president is also telling the truth. And so it feels like there are two bad actors in this case, and I am confused. I really don't know. I want my president to
You're
be honest.
equating the American president to the Iranian regime?
No, that's not what I did. And
you said two bad actors.
But two bad actors don't have to be the exact same type of bad actors. One is a little bad, one is a little worse. I don't know.
One's a little bad, one's a little worse. What do you believe? What do you believe? John Brennan, do you believe the Iranian spokesman for the IRGC? That the American military bases are destroyed and they're on the run. Do you believe that? John Brennan, do you believe that? Because it looks to me like the guy is a liar. It looks to me like the guy isn't telling the truth. And you said you believe them, that they're more likely to be honest than the American president. The choice is on you Democrats as to who you want to believe. But I would submit to you that the American press corps, by and large, is rooting against the United States because they hate Donald Trump so much. They want our failure in the Middle East. They want what this guy said to be true because they want the Americans to lose, because they think that Donald Trump will be blamed. And they're desperately scared that if we are successful, there will be political credit to Donald Trump by the independent voters of the United States, and it might rebound in the Republicans' favor in the midterms, and God forbid the Republicans do well in the midterms. The Democrats and the American media need the American military to fail in Iran so that Donald Trump and the Republicans are beaten up in the midterms. They have put access to power and control of power ahead of patriotism and support of an effort that if Joe Biden or Barack Obama did, they would be supporting it. But Joe Biden and Barack Obama would never do it because Joe Biden and Barack Obama were pouring their resources into propping up the Iranian regime. They were pouring their resources into Iran's ability to build missiles. They were pouring their resources into Iran's ability to develop nuclear capability and then denying it. The number of people who right now say, well, Barack Obama gave us peace with Iran, they are ignorant fools. Iran lied to Barack Obama. Iran had centrifuges. Iran was developing nuclear material. Iran was developing nuclear weapons. And all of the Democrats who said they were with a wink and a nod acknowledging that, in fact, Iran was. But the Democrats believe the United States is a more abusive power than Iran. The Democrats believe the United States is a bigger threat to world peace than Iran. The Democrats believe that Iran would provide the world stability against the United States if they had nuclear weapons. The entire Barack Obama, Joe Biden plan was for Iran to be able to develop nuclear weapons, and then we can say, oh my gosh, we were surprised and fooled, and now there's nothing we can do because they have the bomb. I guess we got to let them have it. They resent like hell that Donald Trump went into Iran and took out their capacity to make nuclear weapons. And they resent like hell that we've gone back in now to make sure they can't dig up that material and make dirty bombs. They do not like the fact that the United States is using its military. Barack Obama and Joe Biden's belief in the American military is only use it when it doesn't help America. Send the American military to help third parties in ways that doesn't help America. They don't like that we went in and took out Maduro in Venezuela. They don't like that we're on the verge of destabilizing Cuba. They do not like the fact that we're in the Middle East and we've united the Arabs and the Jews together against Iran. Think about that. It's almost a sign of the end times. You can see why the dispensationalists are so excited. We've united the Arabs and Jews against a foreign power that is a threat to the United States, and the Democrats and the press are mad about it. We've brought peace to the Middle East between Jews and Arabs fighting Iran, a common enemy, and the Democrats and the press are really upset that we have united the Jews and Arabs together, something Barack Obama and Joe Biden and John Kerry and all the Democrats never even thought was possible. They rejected the Abraham Accord. They said it was garbage. They said it wasn't true. It wasn't going to work. And here we have a united front, the Saudis, the Emiratis, and the Israelis on common ground working together, and they don't like it. The Democrats don't. And they say they would rather believe Iran than the United States. Here we have Iran's spokesman saying the Americans have been destroyed across the Middle East. I interpret that as a last bit of propaganda desperation of the Democrats. They're probably cheering on the deaths of the Americans right now, given what they think that they believe the Iranians more than the Americans, and they hope the Americans lose so that they can have a win in November. This episode is brought to you by Pocket Hose, the world's #1 expandable hose, and I love it. I can't speak highly enough of the Pocket Hose. Why? Because your normal old-fashioned hose that you get, and it comes in the big curled up, coiled up, it kinks, it gets knots in it. The Pocket Hose doesn't. And the Copperhead's pocket pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow. I use it around the house, use it in the backyard. It's pollen season now. I'm washing all pollen everywhere. For a limited time, my listeners can get a free pocket pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose from Pocket Hose. Just text ERIC to 64,000. That's ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, to the number 64,000, 64000 for your 2 free gifts with your purchase. ERIC, E-R-I-C-K, to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. You really want the Pocket Hose. It's pollen season. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number, 877-973-7425. So I apologize to all of you everywhere, but I got to answer this question. Because I get it, I'm on 20-plus stations in the state of Georgia. My flagship station's Atlanta, Georgia. And we have a gubernatorial campaign right now. And there's a late entrant. He's been on the show. His name is Rick Jackson. I intend to get the others on the show as well. Rick Jackson is running for governor in Georgia, and there is a nasty ad campaign going on right now between Rick Jackson and Burt Jones. Burt Jones was the dominant party in the race. He's a great guy, lieutenant governor. Rick Jackson got into the race, also a great guy. He's a businessman, grew up in the projects, became a billionaire. There are 2 others in the race, Brad Raffensperger and Chris Carr. Chris Carr is a dear friend. The Attorney General, his campaign is not caught on for governor. Brad Raffensperger is hated by Donald Trump and Trump supporters, so he's alienated about a third of the vote out of the gate. The race really is, whether they want to believe it or not, and don't at me, and I know they're going to for saying it, but the truth is the race is right now between Rick Jackson and Burt Jones. I don't have a dog in the fight. I like both men. I will say that there have been a lot of attacks going back and forth. No, it is not true. Rick Jackson funded a bunch of Planned Parenthood nurses. It's not true. He actually is big in the pro-life community. Most Christian crisis pregnancy centers in the state of Georgia gotten checks from Rick Jackson over the years. He's big into foster care. I like Burt Jones. He's lieutenant governor. He'd be a fine governor. He's backed by Donald Trump. Rick Jackson has given millions of dollars to Donald Trump. I will just tell you that Rick Jackson right now is drawing massive crowds in ways the other candidates aren't. People are looking for someone to shake up the race. It is very notable in my mind that in Georgia you had 3 candidates running: Brad Raffensperger, the elected Secretary of State, Chris Carr, the elected Attorney General, and Burt Jones, the elected Lieutenant Governor, running for governor, and you still had about 40% of the race undecided. Suddenly Rick Jackson gets in, and he's getting 700 people to 1,000 people showing up at events, because the people who know all these other guys weren't excited about them, and suddenly there's excitement, and that works to his credit, which is also why the campaign's so negative right now. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I like all the candidates. Rick Jackson is getting traction right now, though. Now, let me tell you about Incogni. They're getting traction, too, to protect your privacy online. Go to incogni.com/Eric, INCOGNI, incogni.com/Eric. They will go online and serve as your representative to data brokers who are selling your private information to market you, to target you by spammers, by insurance companies, by lawyers, you name it, and they send takedown notices and they protect your privacy. Incogni.com/Eric, incogni.com/ERICK. That's what you want to do. You save up to 60%, and they will send takedown notices to the site selling your data. For example, in 35 states, if you get a driver's license, the state sells your information to the data brokers who repackages online. Incogni.com/Eric, incogni.com/ERICK. You sign up with Incogni, and they will send the takedown notices. They'll protect your privacy. Get more private online with Incogni. Incogni.com/Eric, ERICK. I struggle to stay grounded in the Word. I am so bad about forgetting to read my Bible. I sign up for the yearly plans, and I get through a couple chapters of Genesis and Matthew and let it go beside. I'm telling on myself. That's why Glorify is around. It's the #1 Christian daily devotional app, and it's become a part of my life. It should become a part of your life as well, because like millions of others, it helps me actually stay focused in the Word. So download the Glorify app and create space every day for the Word. You can do it in the morning, on your drive into work, or in the afternoon on your way home. Listeners to the show can get full access to Glorify for just $29.99 for the entire year. It's Glorify's lowest price ever when you download the app at glorify-app.com/Eric. Feel closer to God this year with Glorify. Get full access all year for just $29.99 at glorify-app.com/Eric. Literally, I just saw this as we're coming back from break. This is from the Babylon Bee. Soldiers issued Crocs so Trump can say he didn't put boots on the ground. Well done. Well done. I am not a fan of Crocs. My buddy Hugh is a huge Crocs fan, and I ridicule him regularly for wearing Crocs. I'm just sorry. I'm not a fan. All right. We got to move to something else. I have saved it for the end of the program. I got to talk about the James Talarico story. Now, years ago, I discovered years ago that members of the American Press Corps, most members of the American Press Corps don't actually know much about Christianity. God rest his soul, my buddy John Echtel, I've told the story before, after the 2016 election when so many people were stunned at Donald Trump's election, he put out a tweet and he said, how many reporters know people who drive pickup trucks? You would thought that he had asked how many of you reporters are pedophiles, given the reaction. Reporters were furious with him for asking the question, and it exposed how much in a bubble so many reporters are. Do you know what the #1 vehicle in America is? It's the Ford F-150. Do you know what the #1 vehicle in America is for people who make over $500,000 a year? It's the Ford F-150. Do you know what the #1 vehicle in America is for people who make over $1 million a year in the United States? It's a Ford F-150. And yet, many reporters have never met a person who drives the most popular vehicle in the United States. You know what the #2 most popular vehicle in the United States is? Dodge Ram pickup truck. You know what the #3 most popular vehicle in the United States is? Chevy Silverado. The top 3 in the United States are all pickup trucks led by the F-150. And many reporters have never met a person who drives a pickup truck, and they were furious when he pointed out how isolated they are. Many reporters in the United States of America do not actually know authentic Christians. Now, I say authentic Christian because there are a lot of people who claim to be Christian, and you and I both know they're not. I had to, in the year of our Lord, 2012, write a piece when I was running redstate.com about mainline denominations, because many reporters in the United States of America confuse mainline Christianity with mainstream Christianity. And there's a big difference. Mainstream Christianity in the United States is evangelical Christianity. There are more evangelical Christians in the United States than there are any other cluster of Christians, including Catholics in the United States. The Southern Baptists are the most popular Protestant denomination in the United States. And when you actually look at Catholicism, many people use Catholic like they use Jew. It's a sign of ethnicity. It's not a sign of religion. Among people who regularly go to church in this country, there are far more Southern Baptists going to church on a weekly basis than there are Catholics in the United States. That's just the data. It's not me. That's the data. There's been a resurgence in Catholicism in this country, but it's been overstated online. It's not as significant as some people would have you believe. Mainline Christianity comes from the Philadelphia mainline transit system. The main line in Philadelphia ran through neighborhoods that at the time, in the overwhelmingly white suburbs of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, people were clustered around various religious denominations among the Protestants. So you had the Lutherans, and you had the United Church of Christ, and you had the Northern Baptists, and you had the Presbyterians USA. Did I mention the Episcopalians? You had them. And the United Church of Christ, the Lutherans, the Northern Baptists, the Episcopalians, and the Liberal Presbyterians, PCUSA. At the time, it was Presbyterian Church United States. It became PCUSA. All of those denominations, those are the mainline denominations. Where do the mainline denominations come from? They come from early evolution of Christianity in the United States, in New England, as those people became more American, less colonial, and then over time they evolved into wealthy classes of American citizens. The mainline denominations are the old denominations of the United States. The evangelicals spun off from them. So, for example, you have the evangelical Lutherans. That's the mainline Lutherans. The Missouri Synod Lutherans, those are the evangelical Lutherans. You have the Baptists, and then you have the Southern Baptists. The Southern Baptists are the evangelical branch. The American Baptist or the Northern Baptist, that's the mainline branch. You have the PCUSA, which is the mainline branch of Presbyterians, and then you have the PCA. The PCA and the OPC, the Orthodox Presbyterian Church, those are evangelicals. Gresham Machen, a very famous evangelical Presbyterian who is at Princeton, left the Presbyterian Church United States and started the Orthodox Presbyterian Church, the OPC. In the 1970s, the PCA split off from the PCUSA. The PCA is smaller. It's one of the fastest growing denominations in the country. It's what I'm in right now. I grew up Southern Baptist. I'm in the PCA. It is one of the very conservative Presbyterian denominations, although it's so funny. There are a bunch of people who are like, oh, they've gone woke. They've gone woke because, well, they're not fundamentalist enough. People actually watch sports, watch TV on Sunday in the PCA. And they might cook on Sunday. So for some people, it's like, they've gone woke because they cook on Sunday. I bring all of this up. I don't mean to bore you with the minutia of religious denominations in America, but it's important that you understand this. It's important that you understand it because James Talarico in Texas comes from the mainline Presbyterian branch of the United States. He went to a church that years ago affirmed same-sex marriage. In fact, the church that James Talarico grew up in Texas affirmed same-sex marriage before the Supreme Court legalized same-sex marriage. He went to a very progressive denomination. And he is listed as a Presbyterian seminarian. James Talarico happened to go to a very liberal seminary. And the people who support James Talarico, they don't actually know a lot of evangelicals. They don't know a lot of practicing regular church-going Christians. The Huffington Post is doing a hit job on conservatives, evangelicals, and Pete Hegseth through Pete Hegseth's pastor. According to Pete Hegseth's pastor, Brooks Pottinger, let me read you the quote about James Talarico. She tweets, Jennifer Benjury of Huffington Post does, Pete Hegseth's pastor and close spiritual advisor says he wants Texas Democratic State Representative James Talarico to die. We want him crucified with Christ, says James Pottinger of Talarico. As the podcast host said, he prays that God kills him. Now, if you're an evangelical Christian, you know immediately that this pastor does not mean the physical death of James Talarico. In fact, in context, let me give you the full quote. Ultimately, that means killing his heart and raising him up to new life in Christ. I had a dear friend who passed away years ago. And we were sitting at his house. He's much older than me, helped me get my first job. And he went to the Episcopal church. I can actually see out my window. It's an old Episcopal church in Middle Georgia. And we were sitting at his table one night eating. And I loved the guy. Passed away a number of years ago. And he said, you know, those Baptists, they think you got to be born again. I ain't going to be born. I don't even know how you get born again. I just go to church. The phrase born again comes from Scripture, where Christ is having a conversation. I think it's with Nicodemus, and it's actually a reference to Ezekiel in Scripture. Ezekiel has a passage about the dry bones, and it is a passage of restoration. In the valley of dry bones, the hand of the Lord was on me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord, and he set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bones. He led me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, bones that were very dry. And he asked me, Son of man, can these bones live? I said, Sovereign Lord, you alone know. Then he said to me, prophesy to these bones and say to them, dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. This is what the Sovereign Lord says to thee, bones. I will make breath enter you, and you will come to life. I will attach tendons to you and make flesh come over you and cover you with skin. I will put breath in you, and you will come to life, that you will know that I am Lord. So I prophesied as I was commanded, and as I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound, and the bones came together, bone to bone. I looked, and tendons and flesh appeared on them, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Then he said to me, prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, son of man, and say to them, this is what the Sovereign Lord says. Come, breath from the four winds, and breathe into these slain, that they may live. So I prophesied as he commanded me, and breath entered them. They came to life and stood on their feet, a vast army. Then he said to me, Son of man, these bones are the people of Israel. They say, well, our bones are dried up and our hope is gone. We are cut off. Therefore prophesy and say to them, this is what the Sovereign Lord says. My people, I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. I will bring you back to the land of Israel. Then you, my people, will know that I am the Lord. When I open your graves and bring you up to me, I will put my spirit in you, and you will live, and I will settle you in your own land. You must be born again. It is a phrase, die to self, die to sin, die in Christ, and be born again. And this writer at the Huffington Post knows nothing of evangelical Christianity, knows nothing of mainstream Christianity, where in mainstream Christianity, not mainline Christianity, you must be born again. A spiritual revival. God changes your heart. You are made new. James Talarico is outraged online that this pastor wants him dead and says, I love you even though you want me dead. James Talarico is from the mainline liberal denominations that do not recognize the fact that God must make you new. God must cause you to die to self and be raised to life. The fact that the Huffington Post has made this attack, and evangelicals so rapidly can push back and laugh at this and say, lady, you're ignorant. The podcast host goes on to say, we want God to deal with James Talarico to protect us from him. And they are interpreting this as them wanting James Talarico to be dead. What it actually is talking about is they want James Talarico made new. The fact that James Talarico and the Huffington Post and progressives online are outraged about what is very basic Christian understanding in an evangelical context is very bizarre to me, but also shows you the extent of the lack of their knowledge about basic Christian theology. Every single one of you listening to me right now who is an evangelical Christian or from most Protestant denominations and even from Catholicism, you understand this idea of the dry bones and God making all things new and raising life from death and dying to your sins and carrying your cross and the sense of crucifixion and resurrection. You understand these things. This is not new to you. For those of you who don't get this, this is very basic understanding. And the fact that the Huffington Post would attack Pete Hegseth's pastor for saying this phrase, which is common in evangelical Christianity, and not understand this is not a wish of death on James Talarico, it's actually a wish of life on James Talarico, is a really damning indictment on the media commentary. And I understand the Huffington Post is biased, and the Huffington Post doesn't like Christians, and the Huffington Post doesn't understand Christians. But I would also expect that in a situation like this, they might understand that it's not actually, well, a good thing for them to lie so blatantly about Christian beliefs because, well, 34% of the United States identifies as evangelical and more than half the United States identifies as Christian. And those people understand the phrasing, and it totally negates their attacks on Christians when you just flat out lie about what the pastor is saying. Now, I will tell you, I also do wish that many of these evangelical pastors would get off the podcasts. You know, the main reason I went to seminary was because I kept being asked to preach in churches, and I felt very awkward being asked to preach when I hadn't been to seminary. So I went to seminary, and then they stopped asking me to preach. And now, after years later, very often, very, very rarely do I get invited to preach. I kind of have come to terms with the fact that you guys I got this microphone's my pulpit. And you guys are my congregation to a degree, but you got a home congregation and a home church, and your pastor's job is to pastor to you. And I kind of don't like the trend of evangelical pastors now getting these podcasts and forgetting the fact that their congregation, their flock, is their physical church. And they oftentimes get very politicized in their podcasts. And in getting very politicized in their podcasts, they walk into situations like this where it becomes very easy to mischaracterize what they're saying, to attack them and to attack the people of their congregations. And I would just say, pastors, don't be online personalities. Be pastors in pulpits for congregations, and maybe not be so podcast present and political present that you miss the point of your whole mission. To the rest of you, I would say, when the Huffington Post tells you Christians are saying something, you probably need to recognize the Huffington Post doesn't understand what Christians talk about, because I don't know that there's even one that works at that organization. I am on my second house with my wife, and in both houses, we've had problems. The joys of homeownership come with the burdens of appliance breakdowns, plumbing failures, HVAC, electrical. Well, that's where HomeServe comes in. It's like a subscription for your home for as little as $4.99 a month. They got your back. Repairs hit fast and hard. You could be searching for a contractor in a panic. You could already be on the phone with HomeServe's 24/7 hotline scheduling a repair. It's super simple. You choose a plan for your needs and budget, and when something on your plan goes wrong, you call their 24/7 hotline to start the repair process. They've been helping folks for 20 years. With 4.5 million customers, a 4.8 out of 5-star post-repair rating, and A+ Better Business Bureau, they're legit. So what do? Well, you go to homeserve.com, pick a plan. Many of them start for as low as $4.99 a month, and they're between $4.99 and $11.99 a month. Terms apply on covered repairs. Go to homeserve.com today. Hello and welcome. It is Eric Erickson. I am delighted to have you with me. I got to play for you this clip of Jimmy Kimmel. Not particularly, not a fan of Jimmy Kimmel. This is from last night's Jimmy Kimmel program.
Rudy Giuliani might not be with us much longer, but Don't worry, Trump's got a whole new generation of thinkers lined up, including his newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, Mark Wayne, Chuck Mike, Bruce Dave Mullen. Maybe Mellon's better. He is the now former senator of Oklahoma. Before he was elected to the Senate, Mark Wayne Mullen was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now. It worked for Super Mario. Why not Mark Wayne?
Mark Wayne Mullen didn't finish college because his father fell ill. He took over their plumbing business, turned it into a multi-state business, and sold it for millions of dollars. That Jimmy Kimmel would mock a working class man who made good shows you why the Democrats keep losing the heartland and most Americans, because they hold them in contempt and they're the butt of jokes. Mark Wayne Mullen's no joke. He's a serious person who's going to be a great Secretary of Homeland Security. Now, let me tell you about Swiss America. You guys, if you go to their website, SwissAmerica.com/Eric, you can click on the News and Views tab. In fact, let me do it for you right now. SwissAmerica.com/Eric. And up at the top, you'll see News and Views. They have a blog that they update very regularly. In fact, one of their headlines right now, Stop Eating to Buy Silver. They've got lots of analysis on the precious metals markets. You can do a precious metals IRA. You can get ahead of the game and get key insight. You can also click on the Swiss America podcast and find out a lot. Swiss America Trading on YouTube is their channel to find out what's going on with markets right now. You want to stay engaged. You want to stay up to date on what's happening with the BRICS and precious metals and the economy. Swiss America can help you. SwissAmerica.com/Eric. Also, get their free report, The Secret War on Cash. You can fill out the form at SwissAmerica.com/ERICK.